again to another edition of Quick Trivia with Mike. It's the weekly game show right here on channel 955 where we test your knowledge of trivia. Sometimes it's a little bit more historical in context. Sometimes it's very contemporary. Hopefully it's all a lot of fun. I'm here today with my guest host of the week, Joe Schmidt. Hello, Joe.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm having a good time, and hopefully you're going to have a good time as well.
I'm looking forward to it.
So you're all set?
Yep.
All right, let's go with it. We do have a new tradition here at Quick Trivia where we list birthdays of the week. Let's begin with that, shall we?
Sure.
Here at East Castle Place, on the 24th of August, Bob Thomas is celebrating his birthday. On the 28th of August, one of my twin co-hosts from last week, Bruce Berg, celebrating the 61st anniversary of his 29th birthday. Joe Tarantino, on the 30th of August, celebrating the 64th anniversary of his 29th birthday.
Wow.
If you see Bob or Bruce or Joe in the hallways this week, take a minute and wish them a happy birthday. I know we hope that they have a great day and a great week, right, Joe?
Absolutely.
Joe, before we get into the show itself,
Yeah.
I want to ask a couple of questions of you.
Sure.
I know there are things that you're really involved in. First of all, though, before we do that, we're in your brand new apartment. How long have you been in here, Joe?
1 week.
1 week, I'll tell you.
1 week.
It's gorgeous. It's an absolutely wonderful apartment, and you've done a wonderful job decorating it.
Thank you.
I do know, too, one of the things you've done to decorate it is you have visited the treasure chest, haven't you?
I have, and I found wonderful supplemental things. This is a slightly larger apartment than the one I had before, and I needed a couple of pieces to fill in, and I found them.
And I think that really is a nice way to look at the treasure chest. It's a nice place to find things to fill in.
It's a wonderful place to do that.
It is. I know a lot of our staff, when they shop down there, they're buying essentials.
Yes.
But a lot of the residents, when they shop, they're filling in.
Not only that, but if you miss shopping, go to the treasure chest, because you can browse and you can see interesting things, and you may not buy anything, but it's a fun thing to do.
I agree. I'll tell you another wonderful thing about the treasure chest. Not only is it supported by the people who shop, but it's supported by the people who donated the items in the first place.
Right.
And that's really what makes it special. I've said many, many times, the real treasure in the treasure chest are the people who work it and the people who support it. So come on down sometime. I think you're going to love it. You're also involved in a lot of things in addition to that, though. I think you're on resident council, right? And things like that?
I am, I do projects on the side, and so
Okay.
I've gotten involved with the roof garden. When I first came here,
Okay.
I was on the second floor, and I discovered the roof garden, which is a wonderful perennial garden, and we're refurbishing it. It's going to have this wonderful butterfly sculpture. We're going to put in a lot more perennial plants. We've gotten rid of all the dead wood, as one would say. Literally, there were dead trees up there.
I know, I saw them. I saw them, that's right. That's right. It looks wonderful.
It's coming along.
You've had a couple of volunteers that have worked really hard with you on it, right?
And they have. Katie Phillips and Terry Sundberg have been marvelous, and Terry is so knowledgeable. She's a master gardener, so she's so knowledgeable. And we will welcome anyone who wants to help. We're going to be planting a bunch of flowers sometime around September 11th. And so I will get the word out when we get the plants in, and everybody's welcome to come pick up a shovel and help us put these plants in.
All right. After intermission, we're going to talk a little bit about some more of your other activities, but I did want to complete our conversation on the rooftop gardens. That has been funded by a very unique mechanism called the Community Enrichment Fund, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It was very wonderful to be able to say, okay, can we afford to do this? This is a project that is on top of other things, and so can we afford to do, where's the money coming from to pay for it? And this community project fund is exactly where the money has come from.
And people can donate to that fund if there's a particular project that they're interested in, or they just want to support the general community projects,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Yeah, well, wonderful.
Yes.
And for donors who participate in that fund, the funds are tax deductible,
Right.
which is really nice because the funds actually are donated to East Castle, which makes them tax deductible
Right.
based on our tax status.
Right.
So that's great. Well, let's get into a little bit about the trivia show itself, shall we?
Great.
You know how it works by now. I pose 3 questions to you, and you have to contact me by noon on Monday and give me your answers to the questions. We begin the show by providing the answers to the 3 questions from last week. Then I give you 3 new questions for the coming week,
Okay.
although we always declare a winner.
Okay.
Last week we talked a little bit about a philosopher by the name of François-Marie Arouet, better known as a name that you're very familiar with, actually. Do you have any idea who that was?
I have no clue.
See, you're not a regular viewer, are you? We're exposing that, folks. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
I'm not a trivia person.
Okay. François-Marie Arouet is better known as Voltaire.
Oh.
Everybody's heard of Voltaire. You know that he was a French philosopher during the age of the French Revolution, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment period in French literature. We talked extensively about him last week, but one of the things we talked about led into our trivia question for the week. I gave you the beginning of a quote from Voltaire, and I asked you, how does the quote end? The quote was, by Voltaire, "It is dangerous to be right when..." Do you have any
I
idea?
have no clue.
Remember, folks, it was during the age of the French Revolution. It is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong. That is the conclusion to the famous Voltaire quote. That was the answer to question number 1. It is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong. Question number 2. We talked a little bit about one of history's most famous rock bands, the Beatles. We actually went back to the beginning of the Beatles. Ringo, Paul, George, John. I told you a little bit about their birth in Liverpool, how they went by previous names, some of their early hits, some of their great albums, Abbey Road, the White Album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, some of the real standards that rock is compared to even to this day. We talked about the fact that it wasn't always John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
Right.
There was, at one time, it was John, Paul, George, and Peter Best.
Okay.
Peter Best was the original drummer. Producer George Martin decided that Peter Best wasn't good enough. The band could tour with Peter Best if they wanted to, but he wasn't good enough to be the drummer during their recording sessions.
Okay.
So John, Paul, and George decided that they would fire Peter Best and hire Ringo, because if Ringo was going to be the production drummer, he should be on stage with them as well. Well, as it turns out, even Peter Best wasn't the first drummer for the band. And I asked you, during the era when they were known as the Silver Beatles, who preceded Peter Best as the drummer, and why did that drummer leave? That drummer actually left of his own volition.
Okay.
His name was Tommy Moore.
Okay.
Tommy Moore quit the band and Peter Best joined the band. Tommy Moore quit the band for a very interesting reason. He actually didn't think they were ever going to be big. and their playing music jobs in the evenings interfered with his job as a forklift driver.
Oh, poor thing.
So he, poor thing. So Tommy Moore quit the band, and he went back and stayed with his job as a forklift driver, and the rest, as they say, is history. Tommy Moore, I wonder if he regrets that decision. We will find out someday, maybe. Our third question last week, going off on a whole different topic. We talked about units of measure, the metric and the imperial system.
Okay.
Talked about the fact that the imperial system is really a misnomer. The imperial system has nothing to do with the empires of England and France and stuff like that. The metric system is the one used by Europe. The imperial system is used by the United States of America. There actually are 3 countries that still use the imperial system. They are the US, Liberia, and Myanmar. We talked about the fact also that there are many things that occur as a result of these changes in the way things are measured and done, etc. One of which is where people drive on the road. You know, here in the United States, where we have the imperial measurements, people drive on the right side. In Europe, where they have the metric system, people drive on the left side. There is, however, one spot in the United States where it is in fact legal to drive on the left side of the road, just like they do in the metric system. And I asked you, where is it legal to drive on the left side of the road in the United States?
I give up.
The answer was the United States Virgin Islands.
Oh.
And the Virgin Islands, because of its tradition, it was originally owned by a European empire. So in the United States Virgin Islands, the only spot in the United States, it is legal to drive on the left side of the road. That was question number 3. Now you all know that we also have a tiebreaker, which I'm going to guess is news to you.
Okay.
It's the bumper music. Listen to the music at the beginning and the end of the show. Identify that music, and if 2 or more of you have the same number of questions correct, that's the tiebreaker.
Okay.
The bumper music last week, in keeping with our theme of the Beatles, actually was very early Beatles. It was when they were known as the Silver Beatles.
Okay.
So Peter Best is the drummer on this. Money. Money by the Silver Beatles was the bumper music last week.
Okay.
Now, ironically, we didn't need the bumper music tiebreaker. We had a winner.
Oh, good.
Only one person got all 3 questions correct.
Wow.
Coincidentally, he identified the bumper music as well. No, I'm sorry, he did not. Nobody identified the bumper music. But he did get all 3 questions correct, and he was the only player to do so. Mr. Alex Hill, welcome back to the winner's circle. You know, Alex has been down for a couple weeks now, but he's playing again.
He's back.
And he's back, and he's back in the winner's circle. Alex Hill, congratulations. Your picture's going to be on 9:55 all next week. Folks, we're going to take a brief intermission, and we're going to come right back with the second half. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, maybe a donut. We've got some real brain teasers coming your way. Joe and I are going to be right back. We're going to sit tight. Hurry back, folks. We'll be back in a minute.
Tears inside were burning. I wished him luck and then he said goodbye. He was gone, but still his words kept returning. What else was there for me to do but cry? He talked and talked, and I heard him say that she had the longest, blackest hair, the prettiest green eyes anywhere, and the reason of his latest flame. Would you believe that yesterday?
Hey, welcome back to the everybody. I hope you had a good intermission. Joe and I have been waiting very patiently for you. We've got 3 new brain teasers for you, but we're going to begin by chatting a little bit with Joe first. Joe, I know one of the things that has made you maybe a little bit more high profile here than some of your neighbors is the fact that you volunteer.
Right.
And I mean, you're not the only one. There's lots of volunteers, but there's also lots of opportunities, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I think if you, I've been here for 2 years, and in 2 years, I have gotten to know every single person in this building. The new people that have come in recently, perhaps not as well, but I will get to know them. And one of the ways I've done that is I've volunteered at the general store. I volunteered in the roof garden. We took on the library project where we downsized the libraries in preparation for the renovation that's going to happen. We've done the art projects. We've got a new artist in residence coming on board in September. And I just urge people to get involved with her and whatever project she may bring to us. Show up at these things, and even if you are thinking about, well, I don't know who I would eat with at dinner, come down and just sit at a table at dinner, and you're going to meet folks and you're going to get to know folks, and it's going to be terrific. There's a play reading group, there's a short story group, there's all these things that you can get involved in, and that's one of the reasons you came here, is for community. So come on and get involved.
I think that's really a good point. If people wanted to live in their own homes and do their own thing and watch TV or whatever, they wouldn't have come to a place which is a community.
Right.
Right? Living in a community means being active and involved, correct?
Right.
And as you say, there's wonderful opportunities for all kinds of things. Even the library project that I know has been a pet project of yours for a while now, they look wonderful now, by the way.
Right. We have 2 wonderful libraries now. The one on the main floor is primarily fiction. And then downstairs on your way to the fitness center, you pass through the nonfiction library, which has a wealth of historic and scientific and self-help and all sorts of travel and wonderful volumes in there. So get involved in the library committee, in any of the committees, and you're going to enrich your life by doing that.
And I'll tell you, for you new people, and I know there's a lot of you that have moved in within the last 6 to 12 months,
Yeah.
one of the ways to meet people is that first floor library. Sooner or later, everybody comes and spends some time reading the paper, working a jigsaw puzzle, taking a book and reading it. It's also right on the way to the post office or the bistro.
Right.
Sooner or later, you meet everybody in the first floor library.
Right.
So I encourage you to come on down, right?
Yep.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, let's get into this week's trivia, shall we?
There you go.
We're going to stay on the topic of the Beatles, the way that we ended the first half of the show.
All right.
We're going to focus on the Beatles and Milwaukee. I know all of you know that the Beatles actually came to Milwaukee for their one and only show in 1964.
Okay.
They played at what is now called the Milwaukee Arena. And they stayed at what at that time was a hotel on Wisconsin Avenue. Today, at that time, it was known as the Coach House Inn on 19th and Wisconsin. Now it's a dormitory for Marquette University. But it was really the center of Milwaukee for one night in April of 1964. Tickets, by the way, for that night, for the arena, which was sold out.
Sure.
2 different prices, $3.50 or $5.50. Quite a coup there, actually, if you could have been there for that. I'll tell you too, one of the things that is sometimes forgotten about it, there was a radio war going on in the 1960s, trying to capture the rock music audience in Milwaukee. WOKY and WRIT. Both of them were AM radio stations. FM wasn't that big in those days.
Right.
WOKY sponsored the Beatles that night. There was a local disc jockey who basically, well, he was the MC that night because WOKY was the sponsor, Bob Berry.
Mhm.
Bob Berry made an entire career out of being the host and MC that April night in 1964 when the Beatles were in town. For the rest of his career, he called himself the Fifth Beatle
Oh.
because he hosted Milwaukee's one and only Beatles concert back in 1964. Actually, Channel 10, Milwaukee Public Television, did a wonderful documentary on it. It's called The Beatles Invade Milwaukee. It came out about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Really, we should try to get a copy
Yeah,
of that here.
absolutely, show
It was a wonderful, wonderful documentary. I was at Channel 10 at the time. I did nothing but try to help raise the money for it. But I take credit for the whole thing. At any rate, Bob Berry called himself the Fifth Beatle. Paul McCartney actually, to this day, claims that there was someone who deserves the title of the Fifth Beatle. It was not a disc jockey in Milwaukee.
No, I'm sure.
Who is it that Paul McCartney calls, even to this day, the Fifth Beatle? Who was the Fifth Beatle, according to Paul McCartney?
Okay.
That, my friends, is question number 1. Question number 2, I have to see if I can find it here among my list of, see, I put them all down at one time. I actually missed it. So here we go. Question number 2. Gonna look a little bit at sports history.
Okay.
Winning streaks. Some really, really noteworthy ones. Men's major golf championships. Tiger Woods actually held all 4 Grand Slam titles at one time.
Right.
Not in one year, but it's called a Tiger Slam, owning all 4. There was one person who held all 4 major titles at one time. Golfer in 1930 by the name of Bobby Jones.
Okay.
Bobby Jones is noteworthy because he was an amateur. Never accepted any money so that he could retain his amateur status. In 1930, however, it was not the Masters and the PGA and the golf tournaments we know today. It was the British Open, now called just the Open.
Mm-hmm.
It was the British Amateur. It was the United States Open, and it was the U.S. Amateur. Those are the 4 majors, universally known as the Grand Slam. Bobby Jones actually won it. The longest winning streak in PGA history, though, 11 wins in a row, Byron Nelson. On the LPGA Tour, 5 wins in a row. 2 people are tied, Nancy Lopez and Annika Sorensen. Basketball, the longest winning streak in the United States Olympics, in the Olympics, United States. 64 games from 1936 to 1972. In the NBA, the longest winning streak is 33 games. It was, in fact, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Wow.
The team that beat them to end the streak, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks on January 9th, 1972. The longest winning streak in college, UCLA, 88 games, when Lou Alcindor, who changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was the center. There is, however, a winning streak in major sports that extends for 132 years.
Wow.
What is that major sport winning streak that extends for 132 years? That, my friends,
Wow.
is question number 2.
Wow.
Question number 3. You know, we've had a lot of questions about the Academy Awards right here on Quick Trivia over the course of a year and a half now. The Academy Awards, more commonly known as the Oscars, are the awards for artistic and technical merit in the film industry.
Right.
They're regarded as one of the most significant and prestigious awards in the entertainment industry. We talked a couple weeks ago about Bob Hope was one of our topics.
Okay.
He's actually hosted more Academy Awards than anybody else.
Yeah.
Several months ago, we revealed that the individual who has won more Academy Awards than anybody else in history was
I want to say Meryl Streep, but that's not right.
close, but not quite.
Okay.
Meryl Streep, I think, has won 3 or 4. This person has won 154.
Oh my gosh. Is that the question?
No.
Oh.
This is just part of
Okay,
conversation.
so
We're just having fun.
who is this person?
Walt Disney.
Oh, of
Walt
course.
Disney, because of course
Of
Walt
course.
Disney is in a category virtually all his own.
Right.
And the animation and the music and the choreography and this and that, and the man would win awards virtually every year for the Academy Awards. He stands alone in doing that. So, congratulations to him. However, now that we've mentioned who has the most Academy Awards in all time, and by the way, we also talked one time about the female artist. So Meryl Streep actually didn't have 4 or 5. The female artist who has the most Academy Awards is Katharine Hepburn, with 5. 5 Academy Awards, quite a notable achievement.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable, unbelievable.
Well deserved.
At the top of her craft, if
Yeah.
you will. However, Walt Disney, as you all know, is no longer with us. Who has the most Academy Award nominations and is still alive today? That is question number 3. A living artist in the film industry who has the most Academy Awards of all, Academy Award nominations of all people living today. That, my folks, is question number 3.
Okay.
How do you win on quick trivia? Well, we've already mentioned it. Get your answers to me by noon on Monday. You can email me at mbereaver@eastcastleplace.com, or you can call me at 963-8425. Leave the message on my desk phone, or people can write them down on a sheet of paper. You can slide them under my office door,
Okay.
or because my office door is never locked, come on in, put it on my conference table, or stop at the concierge. Ask them to put it in my mailbox. When I come in on Monday, it'll be there. That's how you win. However, there's that tiebreaker,
You gotta have the tiebreaker.
which is the bumper music.
Yeah.
So if 2 or more of you have the same number of questions correct, and it's the most, then the tiebreaker
Yeah.
will determine.
So what's the bumper music today?
Well, we don't know, because my producer and cameraman,
Yeah.
Scott McFerrin,
Yeah.
even surprises me.
Yeah.
I have to watch the show and see what it is. A lot of times he does a theme, like the Beatles last week.
Okay.
Sometimes he pulls out one of his favorites.
Okay.
He's done a Grateful Dead in the past, things like that.
Okay.
So, pay attention, tune in, and there you have it. I'd also like to thank our president of ECTV, Tyler Gudex, our executive producer, Laura Wengler, my producer and cameraman, Scott McFerrin, and of course, my artistic director, the incomparable Cooper Ledvina. I encourage you, if there's anything you like about the show, please stop and thank Cooper and Scott. Their fingerprints are all over anything that anybody likes. I'd also like to thank my co-host for the week, Joe Schmidt. Thank you for inviting us into your lovely home. This
Happy to
is
do
great. We really enjoyed it.
Happy to do it.
And I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. As you know, we're seen, first of all, on Fridays at 11 o'clock, and then we repeat several times over the weekend. Thanks for spending a half hour with us. I had a great time. I hope you did,
I had
Joe.
a great time too.
Great.
I did.
And I hope you did too. Until next week, I am your host and the Quizmaster, Mike Brever. My co-host this week, Joe Schmidt. Next week, we're going to have another co-host, has yet to be decided. That'll be a surprise. Maybe that's the trivia. We'll find out who it is for next week. But tune in next week, we'll let you know. Until then, I ask you all to please be safe, be smart, and be patient. We're slowly opening up again, and soon we'll enjoy all that wonderful East Castle Place hospitality.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, all of you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.